This is the most powerful couple in politics. The wife, Mun-ju, is a United Nations ambassador, while her husband, Jun-ik, is running for president. He carries the mission of preserving peace and the aspiration to unify the two Koreas, North and South. However, that happiness didn't last long, because those at the pinnacle of power always face lurking dangers. That day, my husband and I were preparing to go to church to attend a prayer service for peace. As it was a solemn occasion, Jun-ik didn't want the security team to follow him. He didn't want to look like a scared person when going to God's house. But little did he know that this would be the biggest mistake of his life, as an assassination plot against him was secretly unfolding. At the church, there were many people protesting Jun-ik. They continuously chanted slogans and raised banners demanding Jun-ik's resignation, as they did not want the two Koreas, North and South, to unify in peace. Witnessing these things, I couldn't help but worry about my husband. I walked into the church and observed everything around me. Upstairs, San-ho was recording the prayer service. During the service, he noticed a very suspicious man. That person placed a Bible in a drawer and then slowly moved forward. He questioned Jun-ik why he was opposing them, even though he had previously said that the North and South would not unify. After asking, he didn't wait for an answer, but immediately pulled out a gun and shot. Jun-ik was dead. I panicked and ran towards my husband. The assassin was about to fire another shot at him, but I tried to shield my husband. At the same time, the security team rushed in, but they all fell before the assassin. Then he turned and pointed the gun at me. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, San-ho unexpectedly appeared and intervened. News of Jun-ik's assassination quickly spread everywhere. Jun-ik was rushed to the hospital for emergency care, but his condition remained unclear. Not long after, the doctor announced that he had passed away. I collapsed when I heard the terrible news. Jun-ik's family also couldn't face this truth. After Jun-ik's sudden death, the political scene remained in chaos. The new Republican Party was scrambling to respond and would schedule a preliminary election. However, the most chaotic place was Jun-ik's family. In one house, there were 3 widows, as their husbands had passed away one after another. Before Jun-ik's father died, the grandmother did not trust her daughter-in-law, Oh-san. Therefore, she had entrusted all her assets to her eldest grandson, Jun-ik. Now, they feared that I would inherit all of his assets. Here, Jun-sang announced to everyone that he would run for office in place of his brother. Jun-sang believed that the party's approval rating would skyrocket after Jun-ik's incident. He had conducted investigations and was certain that he would receive absolute support from the new Republican Party. Mrs. Oh-sang immediately asked her son who had told him that. Jun-sang revealed it was party chairman Man-ji, but Mrs. Oh-sang didn't think Jun-sang was capable enough. She thought Jun-sang was only suited to be a prosecutor, and if anyone had to run for office, it should be me. She believed that if a widow ran for office, she would surely be elected. Just then, the family's legal representative arrived. He revealed that 2 weeks prior, Jun-ik had hired a private lawyer to arrange his assets. The total cash amount was over 4.4 billion won, all left to me. Additionally, 5 real estate properties valued at 24 billion won were also transferred to me. The lawyer also stated that Jun-ik still had some overseas assets that had not yet been inventoried, so he couldn't provide an exact figure. However, the lawyer believed that the remaining assets were not substantial. The grandmother couldn't accept this, because these were the assets of 3 generations of the Jung family, and now they had all fallen into the hands of an outsider. She compared me to a homeless person and said that I was very lucky to have joined this family. I admitted that I knew nothing about this inheritance. Previously, Jun-ik had said he wanted to arrange his assets before the election. Therefore, he had given his seal and identification card to the representative. The grandmother continued to scold me because she had previously opposed his marriage to a daughter-in-law of low status like me. Furthermore, I hadn't given this family any children. I responded that I was not a homeless person. I was a daughter whom my mother had sacrificed everything to raise with all her heart. The reason I came to this house as a daughter-in-law without feeling despised was because my mother had taught me that being looked down upon is only other people's problem. As long as one lives honorably, that is enough. Jun-ik had given me all his assets so that I would not be looked down upon in this house. Oh-san felt it was truly unfair, as she had also contributed to building that fortune. More importantly, she had dedicated her heart and soul to her deceased son, Jun-ik. Her son's death was already too much for her to bear. Now she also had to witness her daughter-in-law taking everything, which was truly hard for a mother to accept. I also didn't want to reclaim the assets of the Jang family. I decided to donate everything to charity and leave South Korea. Upon hearing this, everyone immediately objected. They wanted to take this case to court and assemble the best team of lawyers. Mrs. Oh-san said that she was doing it not for money, but for the honor of a mother. Jun-sang tried to follow me to persuade me. He said that a lawsuit would not benefit either side. Instead of me donating to charity, Jun-sang suggested I should donate to his campaign committee. If he and I joined forces, they would have a very significant influence. However, I ignored what Jun-sang said. Meanwhile, San-ho was looking at the necklace I had dropped at the church. At this moment, San-ho received a call from the Mercenary organization. They wanted him to renew his contract to participate in a big mission. This mission involved protecting a widow in South Korea named Mun-ju. However, the person who hired him was not me, but someone else who had hired San-ho to help me. I didn't even know I was in danger. The anonymous client asked San-ho to protect me, but to keep it a secret. This means San-ho needed to make me believe that hiring him as a bodyguard was my own wish. He was not allowed to reveal anything about the person who hired him. They also wanted to know some information about me, such as who I had met or what I had talked about. San-ho didn't want to accept immediately because he wanted to learn more about me. During the police investigation, they discovered that Jun-ik's assassin was Jung-jun. Jung-jun belonged to the Special Warfare Command of the military. When they arrived at Jung-jun's house, the police found many photos and documents related to Congressman Jun-ik. It seemed like things were going against Jung-jun's thoughts, so he got angry and acted that way. Over the past few days, San-ho had been following me to learn more. He felt that Jun-ik's death was a huge shock to me, but I was very good at hiding my emotions. I still maintained my daily running routine. I was always very busy and had no interest in eating. Besides, I was also a bit careless. I had no idea I was in danger. I also didn't know that a group of people was always watching me from behind. After investigating everything about me, San-ho refused the mission assigned by the Mercenary organization because he was not interested. That night, I went to church to pray and met the priest. Here, I wanted to meet San-ho because I had many questions for him. I asked the priest to relay a message. San-ho was upstairs and heard everything. The next day, as I continued my run, I saw him waiting for me ahead. San-ho returned the necklace I had dropped. At the same time, a group of people was watching them both. He noticed this, so he told me not to look back and to act normally. After that, they both left. Seeing this, the pursuers immediately continued to follow. San-ho told me to go ahead so he could deal with these people. At this moment, another group arrived, so San-ho led me away. They both climbed the mountain ahead while the pursuers were still searching at the foot of the mountain. I wondered and asked him if he knew this mountain. He replied that from drains, tunnels, underground, or abandoned buildings in Seoul, things not on the map, people like him knew everything. He also knew where the exits were and where the hideouts were. People like San-ho are those without a homeland. Here, I asked San-ho about the last words the assassin had said. At that time, the assassin said he had killed a spy. San-ho didn't think the assassin was crazy when he said those words. At the same time, he was sure that there was someone pulling the strings behind the scenes who wanted to kill Jun-ik. At this moment, it was raining, so they both went into a tent for shelter. San-ho showed me the video recorded at the church. In the video, Jung-jun placed the Bible in a drawer. San-ho examined the Bible and found a blank business card inside. There were some mysterious phone numbers underneath. San-ho tried to call that number but was informed that it didn't exist. After he left, a group of people came to check the phone booth. He felt that the person behind this business card was powerful enough to delete a phone number or use any number at will. When I heard this, I immediately thought of President Gong-shin, who had once invited me to cooperate. She tried to appear trusting of me, but the reality was completely different. San-ho had also checked the security cameras around the church. Before attacking Jun-ik, Jung-jun had gone to meet Jun-sang. Jun-sang was also at the foot of the mountain. Going back 2 years, San-ho was still in the army and fighting in Iraq. He happened to hear my speech when I was working at the United Nations. I had hoped that one day North and South would be reunited, and families and loved ones of millions of people like me would be living on the Korean peninsula. They are hundreds of kilometers apart, but I felt that they were all brothers and sisters. I believe that the North Korean people also deserve a life like ours. My speech moved San-ho because his family was also divided between North and South. At this time, I sought out my husband's bodyguard, Chong-hui. I wanted to know when Jun-ik had increased security because he was clearly guarding against something. Chong-hui revealed that about 1 or 2 months ago, Jun-ik suddenly received many private calls, and security meetings with unidentified attendees were also held more frequently, especially before the ambassador arrived. He seemed very worried. Jun-ik asked for security to be doubled and suddenly requested to take a roundabout route, even though the distance was very short. When Chong-hui asked why, he said that there were squirrels watching him. Hearing the word squirrel, I immediately thought of my brother-in-law, because Jun-sang has the nickname Violent Squirrel. I received a call from my assistant, MIG. MIG was at the assassin's house, and she saw them seemingly preparing to go somewhere far, but looking very tense, as if someone wanted to take them away to hide something. She decided to follow them, even though she knew it was very dangerous. Hearing that, I advised MIG not to get out of the car until I arrived. Meanwhile, the priest advised San-ho to leave because he felt the church was about to fall into chaos. Before that, Assemblyman Jun-ik had left a will for the priest. The priest continued to pray to God to find the right path for this situation. It was a promise between the priest, Assemblyman Jun-ik, and God. Before seeing San-ho off, the priest said a meaningful sentence that they could still meet again. Then, he gave San-ho a bottle of wine. He also reminded San-ho to come back to drink that bottle of wine. Then, San-ho went to the pier to prepare to leave. At this moment, he found another business card in the Bible, so he decided to turn back. On the other side, MIG was at the airport to follow the assassin's family. Just then, a group of people came and took her away. When I rushed to the airport, I could not contact MIG. At this moment, I received a call from my brother-in-law. It was he who had taken MIG. Immediately, I went to meet Jun-sang. There, he asked me what I was doing. I said that I just wanted to know why my husband died. Jun-sang replied that hadn't the police already informed me? Jun-ik died at the hands of a madman who opposed unification. I wondered why Jun-sang was following Jun-ik. Jun-sang questioned me why I thought he was the one who killed Jun-ik. As a national security prosecutor, he followed his brother because Jun-ik was a spy. He was doing everything to cover for his brother. What if the truth about the presidential candidate being a spy was exposed? What if the force that killed Jun-ik was North Korea? War would break out if it was discovered that the United States was involved. There was an American named San-ho. He was the top mercenary of the American military company Mercenary. As long as there was money, they would kill anyone, and they protected even the scum. Why was that person at the scene? Was it just a coincidence? The reason Jun-sang had to become president was for his family and for the country. For world peace, he would cover everything up. I didn't believe my husband was a spy because I knew him very well. I thought Jun-sang was trying to create false evidence to incriminate Jun-ik. He stopped beating around the bush. He asked me to pack everything and leave the country within the next 24 hours. Jun-sang used MIG to threaten me. He immediately connected the phone for me to talk to MIG. MIG kept saying that she was fine. She also advised me not to worry about her. MIG also advised me not to accept any requests from Jun-sang. However, I still promised to bring MIG back to her family safely within 24 hours. Then I warned Jun-sang that if anything happened to MIG, I would not leave him alone. Then I went to the church and called the priest, but no one answered. The door was unlocked, so I slowly walked in. At this moment, I saw the priest lying on the table. Then someone hiding inside covered my mouth. It turned out to be San-ho. When he arrived, the priest had already passed away. San-ho advised me to leave before they arrived because it seemed like they were looking for something here. As soon as he finished speaking, a thug appeared. San-ho slowly closed the door and immediately attacked him. When San-ho asked why he killed the priest, he said that the whale was in the ocean. Just then, someone was knocking on the door outside. As San-ho focused on the knocking, the other guy quickly jumped out the window to escape. Immediately, San-ho opened the secret door in the priest's wardrobe and took me with him. The director personally came to see Miss Osan. He was very grateful for the help her family had given his second son in the past. Miss Osan had arranged for a doctor and paid for all surgery costs. That was why he decided to reveal important information to her. He said that he had information from an intelligence officer of the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State named Miller. Miller was wanted by the FBI for leaking state secrets and violating the Espionage Act. The person Miller exchanged letters with was Assemblyman Jun-ik. The director had been following Jun-ik and Osan since before Jun-ik died because he suspected that Jun-ik was a spy working with North Korea. Osan could not believe it. The director advised Ms. Osan to be careful because the house was being bugged. When she asked if it was President Gong-shin, he refused to answer. Then, he gave Osan San-ho's file. He also advised her to be wary of San-ho because the organization he worked for was only interested in money. It was impossible to know who San-ho was receiving money from and what those people were planning. Meanwhile, San-ho revealed to me that this was a tunnel from the Japanese occupation and that there was an underground network connecting both North and South Korea. Only a few people knew about this, including San-ho and the priest. I heard that San-ho was a mercenary for the private military company Mercenary. He said that their contracts are renewed every 1 or 2 years. His contract had ended a year ago, and he had not renewed it. I asked if it was a coincidence that he was present near the scene where Jun-ik and the priest died. San-ho did not answer that question. He showed me another business card found in the Bible. San-ho believed that the priest was assassinated by poison because there was a needle mark on his arm. This method could not have been carried out by an ordinary person. The priest had planned to relay Jun-ik's last words at tomorrow's ceremony. Those were exactly what Jun-ik wanted to announce on the day he was assassinated. San-ho found the bottle of wine the priest had promised to give him. His name was clearly written on the bottle. When San-ho opened the bottle, there was something inside as he had guessed. It was a letter from Miller to Jun-ik, along with a satellite photo of a North Korean nuclear submarine. It was a 10,000-ton ship, 140 meters long. It was capable of carrying 128 nuclear warheads. The U.S. side was really worried about this issue. The Department of Defense called to criticize U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Miller because he had previously revealed that the ship built by North Korea weighed only 3,000 tons. After learning about this incident, the U.S. president held an emergency meeting. The U.S. military was planning to attack 40 North Korean nuclear facilities. At that time, Miller was very afraid that war would break out. He persuaded the Secretary of Defense to postpone the attack plan because it could endanger millions of people. However, Miller's words were meaningless. He had no other choice but to send a letter to Jun-ik for help. Everything from Miller's phone to his electronic devices was being monitored and tapped. I remember that Miller had pursued his PhD with my husband. I am sure that Jun-ik had intended to announce this letter that day to prevent war. The next day, San-ho and I escaped the tunnel through a path in the forest. Here, I no longer needed his help. We both decided to go our separate ways. Before leaving, San-ho gave me a necklace, calling it the patron saint of warriors. Then, I met President Gong-shin. I showed her the letter, hoping to prevent war. She blamed Jun-ik for not burning the letter after reading it. Otherwise, he would not have suffered such a tragic end. She immediately burned the letter in front of me and advised me to step back so she could handle it herself. Ms. Gong-shin said that war is a game for madmen, not diplomacy. Even if we stand in the middle and scream for a peaceful solution, no one will listen. We have to choose a side and find a way to make changes. And of course, she would side with the U.S. She knew very well that the one who attacked Jun-ik was the U.S. and no one else. Ms. Gong-shin would take advantage of that loophole to get on board with the U.S. Then she advised me to leave South Korea as soon as possible. San-ho was on a ship to China. From there, he could go to North Korea to reunite with his family. In China, he gave some money to those who helped cross the border, and they would prepare a boat and show him the way. However, when San-ho arrived at the port, someone informed him that he couldn't go there because in recent days, soldiers of the Storm Legion had been everywhere. He immediately turned to ask the guides, but they told him to just go. It's okay. As soon as they finished speaking, gunshots rang out and a ship was being fired upon. With no other choice, San-ho called the Mercenary organization. He accepted the job of protecting me at the request of a secret client. On this side, I went to meet Oh-san. There, I asked her why she was so opposed to my marriage to Jun-ik. She replied that she wanted to find a happy and warm woman for her son, whereas I was a gloomy and cold child. I had lived long enough to realize that this household outwardly seemed to be run by my father-in-law. However, the person who decided everything was Oh-san. She revealed that before agreeing to the marriage, she had thoroughly investigated me. My mother raised her daughter alone in the United States, working at a nail salon, cleaning hospitals, and working as a cashier at a supermarket. Before my mother passed away, Jun-ik was home, taking care of her. After I became famous for my speech at a Model United Nations conference at university, Mrs. Oh-san happened to see an interview of mine. In it, a young man who hung the Korean flag in his room and studied diligently appeared. He was indeed a very rare patriotic youth. Oh-san had invested in Jun-ik's political career, but she felt her son was missing something. When she realized it was patriotism, she decided to accept me as her daughter-in-law to compensate. Based on what Oh-san said, I thought I should run for office instead of Jun-sang. I knew very well that Oh-san was the one who planned everything to make Jun-ik a potential candidate. If she supported my candidacy now, she would have a chance to start over from that position. I promised that if I won, I would leave all of Jun-ik's assets to her. Oh-san knew very well that my dream was to become president. When I was in school, I wrote my dream in my school records. Oh-san accepted the deal I offered. The first thing I wanted Oh-san to do was call Jun-sang to release MIG immediately. At the same time, I demanded that Jun-sang withdraw from the election. He had to leave South Korea within the next 24 hours. I went to see my teacher, Do-jin, and I couldn't hold back my tears. He also knew how much I had suppressed my emotions after Jun-ik's death. Here, I revealed to him, Do-jin, that I had to find out the reason for Jun-ik's death. If there was anything he had staked his life on, I would complete it for him. I admitted that when he was alive, I hadn't loved him enough, even though I knew he was an incredibly wonderful husband. Professor Jin revealed that Jun-ik had visited him a month ago. He showed him a letter from a friend in the US and invited him to join the campaign committee responsible for unification policy. However, joining the Republican Party made the professor very worried. The professor was also planning to move to Argentina, having grown tired of this country where people loved hatred more than peace, loved factions, and enjoyed division. Hearing this, I decided to announce that I would run for president. Although I had studied to a doctoral level, all I had achieved was thanks to Professor Jin's guidance. Therefore, I wanted him to stay and support me on this journey. I also expressed my desire to better understand the situation in North Korea and the actions they would take, as the professor's insights and predictions were always accurate. Professor Jin believed that war was likely inevitable. North Korea possesses nuclear weapons, and the US cannot intervene in this situation. I would also just be another victim crushed under the wheels of history. However, I am confident that I can change everything. The photo capturing the moment I bravely shielded my husband from the assassin's gun was making waves in the media. Domestic and international press continuously reported on me, all discussing the possibility of me inheriting my husband's political legacy. I met my brother-in-law Jun-sang with the intention of forcing him to withdraw from the election. I showed him a video in which he assaulted his wife. I revealed that I had spoken to my sister-in-law and she agreed to testify. When Jun-sang watched the video, he also realized that his mother had sided with me. Although very angry, he couldn't do anything. I gave him a plane ticket to Germany. Jun-sang said resentfully that I should also be careful because when he returned, he wouldn't come back empty-handed. Meanwhile, Mrs. Osana also met the new chairman of the Republican Party to force him to remove Jun-sang and support me. She revealed to him that before her husband died, he had left her a cabinet with many drawers, one of which had Chairman Man-gi's name on it. She showed Mr. Man-gi photos of his illegitimate daughter. She said that if this became public, his political career would surely end, and so he was forced to help me run for office. Mrs. Osan continuously met with other politicians, hoping to turn me into a phenomenon, even a legend of the new Republican Party. 6 days before announcing my candidacy, I unexpectedly rose to first and second place in the polls. Chong-hui decrypted Jun-ik's computer and phone. He found a history of multiple accesses to a secure email page and encrypted email service with servers in Switzerland. Even the FBI couldn't access that information. Just then, Osan arrived because she couldn't reach me. I explained that I had put away my phone because there were too many calls. Mrs. Osan had prepared everything for me, and the next step was for me to appear and perform in public. This Sunday, I would be announced as a candidate in the plaza. Osan wanted me to make everyone cry for me. She gave me the speech I had to read at the event and asked me to mark the places where I should cry. I needed to practice well before this Sunday. That evening, Mr. Man-gi called Mrs. Osan. He heard that many Americans had entered the country awaiting the election announcement, and he was worried that I would be in danger that day. Elsewhere, Sun-ho went to the Mercenary organization to sign a contract. Ethan had his men bring out the equipment and weapons Sun-ho needed, and he revealed that intelligence agent Billy Gray had arrived in Seoul yesterday. Ethan heard that Billy Gray intended to perform something in front of the camera. Shortly after, Sun-ho arrived at the plaza where the election candidates were being announced, wanting to find a suitable place to position his sniper rifle. Meanwhile, I received a call from the president. She didn't care if I became president in the upcoming election, but she was still in office and had her own plans. Madame Gong-shin warned me that if I tried to stand in her way, she would eliminate me immediately. I admitted that I had no intention of confronting her, but I believed that Madame Gong-shin would not be able to prevent the war. Madame Gong-shin revealed that the US did not support my becoming president. She advised me to be careful, saying that this came from her concern for me. That Sunday also arrived. The first step I took, according to Mrs. Osan's script, was to visit my husband's memorial. What I showed to the public was broadcast live on MTV channels. I received a lot of support from the people. Thousands of people surrounded me, chanting my name. In the plaza, security was also being tightened under Chong-hui's direction. Sun-ho was also preparing everything in case I was assassinated. At this moment, he received a message from the organization informing him that they had identified the Korean man accompanying Billy Gray. The man's name was Dustin, an explosives expert who graduated from Special Forces School. Sun-ho immediately went to Chong-hui to discuss this urgent matter. Chong-hui quickly recognized Sun-ho as the man from the church. He asked Chong-hui to stop me from boarding the train. As soon as he was connected to me, he advised me to get off the train, but it was too late. Just as the seat repairman left, I sat on the chair where he had placed the bomb. Sun-ho advised me not to stand up from the seat. Chung-hui realized that something serious had happened, so he requested to cut the live television broadcast. In Sun-ho's experience, it could be a pressure bomb. If it was a time bomb, it would explode at a predetermined time. After learning that the next station was Asan, Sun-ho quickly headed there. I told my assistant MIG to advise all passengers in the carriage to move to other carriages. He hurried on his way because time was more precious than gold. When the train stopped at the station, Sun-ho arrived in time. He used a knife to cut open the seat and confirmed there was a bomb underneath. This bomb was also connected to another bomb in the row in front. The police quickly arrived. When Sun-ho asked, he learned that the bomb disposal team would take another 10 minutes to arrive, so he had no other choice. He had to handle it himself as time was running out. Sun-ho slipped a knife inside and cut the wire connecting the two bombs. The next step was for him to switch places with me. His handling was incredibly gentle, preventing the bomb under the seat from exploding. Afterwards, he reassured me that he would be out of there soon. Once I was safely off the train, Sun-ho had to wait for the opportune moment for the bomb to explode. With the camera connected to a smartwatch, everyone below held their breath watching him. As the bomb under the seat was about to run out of time, he jumped up and clung to the luggage rack. Then, both bombs seemed to explode simultaneously. A moment later, I breathed a sigh of relief as I saw Sun-ho's figure through the window. His body was covered in wounds. After this incident, the police advised me to cancel the rest of the schedule. However, I still wanted it to continue because everyone had prepared meticulously for this day. When night fell, I was already at the square. I confidently walked forward before thousands of supporters, while Sun-ho continued his mission to protect me. Surprisingly, I didn't read the speech Mizo-san had given. Instead, I recounted my journey before standing here from a distant place in America. I had taped the Korean flag in front of my study desk. I had experienced the pain of loss when my husband died unjustly, a man who carried the aspiration for peace and unification of North and South. Just now, I sat on a bomb to get here. That bomb tried to prevent me from standing before everyone, but it couldn't stop me. It was all of you who brought me here. With a mission for peace, I can create a great unity that everyone here desires. I fear nothing. I will not stop for a single moment and will always look towards hope, towards paths of peace and happy families. To protect all these things forever in peace from now on, I announce that I will run for the 22nd term of the Republic of Korea. Everyone below cheered after my speech. Miss Oh-san couldn't help but smile, satisfied with her daughter-in-law. Meanwhile, Chan-hye felt this was a moment in history. I glanced at Sun-ho as if I knew he was there. I sent him a heartfelt thank you. Late that night, I quietly went to the church. At the same time, Sun-ho slowly appeared. I didn't forget to ask how he was, but he just replied that it was just a small scratch. I truly wondered why he was always present at such critical moments. After the incident with Jun-ik and the priest, Sun-ho guessed that I would be the next one in danger. Someone was sending a message that anyone who tries to stop the war will face a similar fate. He believed that my security team couldn't help. He had extended his contract with Vansiri, and no one could protect me better than him. But I still wondered how I could trust him. He advised me to investigate the battles he had participated in, or if necessary, I could follow him. I am the one who wants to prevent war, and that is also what he wants. He had a mission entrusted by the priest. I told Sun-ho that I was the one with the authority to decide, and he would have to follow many conditions in my orders. Of course, he understood that, but in an emergency, I would be forced to listen to him, and he would be my commander. Without hesitation, I immediately agreed to hire him as a bodyguard. Both needed each other to achieve their own goals. My story ends here. Make sure you've subscribed to the channel and turned on notifications. Thanks for watching until the end of the video, and see you next time.